What is up, everyone? Welcome to Seth Leroy Adventures, and this is continuing the series of get to know me / topic videos. So if you stumbled across some of my vlogs, or if you've been watching me and you're like, oh, let's get to know this weirdo, you can come right here and we're going to talk about topics and just get to know me, stuff about my fishing journeys and my opinions on things. Now here's what we're doing next: my top 5 favorite lures. Let's get right into it. Number 5, the spoon, the magic spoon, the daredevil, whatever you want to call it. If you're from the north or you're from Minnesota, I'm sure you use these for them pike. Now listen to me. The spoon is what my older brother always used. He was so big on it. Like, if you were using them spoons, you were using the red and white, you were using the green, yellow, and red. But I love them too. But that's why they came in at number 5, though, is because, like, I like them, but when it comes to, like, weeds and, getting them stuck on stuff and, for me, at least, with them trebles, like, I'm not a big treble hook fan. You'll see once you hear my number 1 and my number 2. But I'm just not the hugest treble hook fan, and it's just getting them stuck on things. But, you can catch some giant northern pike with a spoon. My wife, one of my favorite things I've ever seen caught, she caught a huge trout out of Lake Superior with a spoon. So trust me, they are, number 5 is a good spot to be on my list, but they used to be a lot higher. They probably, when I was young, number 2 on the list, to be completely honest with you. But that's why they're number 5 for me. They're still a great lure, but that's why they're number 5 for me. Number 4 on my list of favorite lures: the swim bait. Now, the swim bait I like because it's a single hook. I like how you can play with it with the depths, and just, it's just very simple but very effective. You can catch northerns, you can catch, largemouth smallies, you can catch pretty much everything that I want to catch on it. But that's a big thing for me, is I'm very big into single hook. I'm not into treble hook. Like I said, that's the only reason the spoon was number 5. I've caught a lot of fish with it, but that's why number 4 would definitely be swim bait for me, and definitely for those reasons. And 2, dropping it way to the bottom and just being able to play with the depth really well with it. Number 3 on my list, we're going topwater frog popper. Okay, I don't really mess with topwater a lot, but if I'm going to mess with topwater, it's the frog popper, or if I'm going for muskie, I use topwater too. But let's talk about number 3, frog popper. I usually use those hidden weed ones, hidden hooks for the weeds, those basic frogs, literally. But I do like, using those treble frog poppers. But once again, you know me with the treble hooks. And if you watch my bigger channel, that's our bigger videos, fishing. Yeah, I'm just big on single hook. Never been a fan of treble hooks. Even when it comes to getting them out of the fish's mouth, it can just be an annoyance, and with that second treble hook on most treble hook things. But no, and I don't really like how it tears up their jaws, honestly, because, I catch and release, so I want the fish to get in the water safe. But yeah, frog poppers just for the simplicity of when they hit that frog popper, that top water, just the collision of it, the excitement. That's the only downside to when I use those frog poppers with, like, the hidden, where they gotta bite down, clamp down, and get those hooks exposed. So that's the only thing, is those aren't as good at hooking the fish, for obvious reasons. But yeah, so that's number 3. Number 3 is the frog popper topwater. Number 2, the wacky worm with a single hook, a very large hook, going through the side of the wacky worm, so it's sideways. I'm not talking going through the top, I'm talking going sideways. Now that wacky worm, because playing with the depth, going real deep, I really like using that on drop-offs or by the rocks. But the hogs I've caught with wacky worms, and on a rare occasion you'll catch a pike, okay? But so when I'm using wackies, I'm usually going for largies, okay? But the wacky worm it's so simple, single hooked, and really being able to play with it. And when I drop it, and I usually let it sink to the bottom, I might jig a little, but I'm not big on jig. I usually just do a nice little pull the whole way, and then I stop, maybe do a little pop, and then another pull. I really like how when fish grab a wacky, the intensity of just, yeah, you feel your line start to go. It's a very fun catch on a fish, and I've caught just hogs with it. It's my go-to for giant largemouth. But when we get to number one, which is next up, it is my number one. Number one. Spinnerbait. Now, used them all my life since I was a kid. I've just spinnerbait. Like I was talking about in my last video, or one of my last videos, that was the biggest bass I've ever seen caught to by my brother-in-law. That was down in Alabama, but yes, spinnerbait. What I'm saying is I've caught just giant, massive pikes. I've even had a huge muskie follow a spinner, but like I catch that's like 90% of the time I'm fishing, I'm using a spinnerbait. They're amazing for northerns, they're amazing for largemouth, they're amazing for smallies. I mean, I even catch panfish, sunnies, whatever you call them where you're from. But spinnerbait, I've deemed myself the spinner whisperer, because I catch so many fish. I know how to use them like almost as a topwater at times. Like if I read the water and I know how to play with the spinner to even get it through the weeds, but to sort of kick it off, slow it down right in the middle of a little weed spot. Like I can fish so good with a spinner. That's why I deemed myself the spinner whisperer, and that's why most of the fish I catch, like I'll have 20 fish catching days and I only go 2 hours each morning, Saturday and Sunday. But yeah, spinnerbait till I die. Number one. I literally casted a spinner off Lake Superior and pulled in a walleye. I'll just cast a spinner wherever and catch a fish. I know how to play with the depth of the water with them, and just I know how to move them and operate them in any condition, any river system, super fast rapids. I'm catching smallies, everything with a spinner. Which, I mean, I have some people who love them too, but a lot of people go, how? Like, why? Which is so surprising to me, and I bet some people are going to be shocked at this list. But that's why I wanted to do this video too, a little get to know me thing, and just to know what kind of lures I like, because that's my favorite kind of fishing. But yeah, that's it for the list. That's the top 5. We live in the land of 10,000 lakes, so what are you doing? Go fishing. Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification if you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine. I'm just glad you're rocking with me. And if you stumbled upon this video and you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Do whatever you want. I don't really care. But I do appreciate you watching. And yeah, so that's it. So all you got to keep doing is keep fishing.